Good afternoon, Dr. Gill. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Dr. Gill, where do you currently work?
I work at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Farmington.
And for how long have you been with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner?
Since July of 2013.
And what is your current position with that office?
I'm the Chief Medical Examiner for the state of Connecticut.
And how long have you been in that position?
Since July of 2013.
Please tell members of the jury what your educational background is, as well as the experience that qualifies you to have the position that you hold.
I received a degree in biology from MIT, followed by my medical school at the University of Connecticut. I did an internship in medicine in Vermont, followed by my pathology training at Yale. I did a fellowship in cancer pathology at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and then a fellowship in forensic pathology at the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. I'm board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology and licensed to practice medicine in Connecticut and New York.
And what are your duties as the Chief Medical Examiner?
I have administrative duties as well as investigative duties. So I am kind of the commissioner of the agency, but I also do medical legal death investigations. So that includes performing autopsies and certifying deaths.
And please explain generally what the term pathology entails.
So pathology is that area of medicine that deals with the laboratory aspects of the body, so things that can go wrong with the body. And typical pathologists usually work in the hospital, and they'll examine different tissue samples from the operating room and so forth to determine if there's cancer or what have you.
And is there a difference between pathology and forensic pathology? And if there is, what is that difference?
Yes, so forensic pathology is a subspecialty of pathology that requires additional training, and it's that specialty that deals with the investigation of sudden, suspicious, or unnatural deaths. So deaths that are related to trauma, injuries, intoxications, things like that.
And up to date, if you can approximate how many post-mortem examinations you have conducted?
I've performed over 4,000 autopsies and many thousands more of examinations of bodies.
Do you primarily oversee the autopsies of other members of your office, or do you conduct them independently?
I do both. Yesterday I did 2 autopsies yesterday, but I also oversee the office.
In your career, have you conducted or overseen autopsies or examinations where the cause of death was a stab wound?
Yes.
And can you approximate how many times?
Many, many dozens of times, both homicidal as well as suicidal self-inflicted injuries.
And prior to today, have you testified in court on the field of forensic pathology?
Yes.
Prior to you coming to court today, did you have an opportunity to review any records from your office to prepare for your testimony?
Yes.
And did you review the postmortem report that was prepared for this case?
Yes, I did.
And did you review any additional reports that may have been part of that postmortem report?
Yes.
And which reports would that be?
Those would include the toxicology report and some other laboratory and investigative reports.
Do you have the opportunity to review any photographs with relation to this case?
Yes.
And are photographs always taken during forensic examinations or withdrawn postmortem examinations?
It's a routine part of a forensic postmortem examination.
And what's the reason for that?
It's to document findings as well as sometimes the absence of findings, so other people can look at it and evaluate it as well.
Now, did you personally perform the autopsy on the body of James Thomas McGrath?
No, I did not.
And to your knowledge, who performed the autopsy?
It was Dr. Jones.
And to your knowledge, what position did Dr. Jones hold with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner?
She was I believe, an assistant medical examiner. She was in her training year as a forensic pathology fellow.
And were you present and overseeing Dr. Jones when she performed that postmortem examination?
Yes, I was.
And why the oversight?
Because she's still in training, and so we supervise them, kind of work side by side with them so they can learn forensic pathology.
And to your knowledge, is Dr. Jones still employed by your office?
No, she's not.
And do you recall what date Dr. Jones performed that postmortem examination?
I'd want to look at the report just to refresh my memory, but it was May 15th, 2022.
And to your knowledge, where was that examination conducted?
At the office in Farmington.
And how do you know that?
I was there, and there's a record in the autopsy report describing the location and the time and the place.
May I approach the clerk, Your Honor?
Certainly.
May I approach the Attorney Smith?
Yes, you may.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Marcus ID, please, Your Honor. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may. What number is this?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
States 10 for ID purposes.
Thank you.
Dr. Gill, I'm showing you what's been marked as states 10 for ID purposes only at this point. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, who prepared this particular document?
Dr. Jones prepared the autopsy report, and the toxicology report was prepared by the laboratory, and she also prepared the lab request form.
And was this report primarily the report from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner prepared in the regular course of business of that office to prepare such a report?
Yes.
And is it in the regular course of business for your office to prepare such reports on a daily basis?
Yes.
And was that report made at or near the time that that postmortem report was withdrawn? Was that report made at or near the time the autopsy on James Thomas McGrath was performed?
Yes.
I would just ask for it to be admitted as a full exhibit, Your Honor.
Attorney Smith?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, court will accept into evidence as a full exhibit, states 10. Thank you.
Now, Dr. Gill, I'm going to be asking you some questions based on states 10, approaching the witness, Your Honor. You may read from this report now that it is a full exhibit. Dr. Gill, who was also present at the postmortem examination in addition to you and Dr. Jones?
Dr. Vincent, one of our medical examiners.
And in addition to members of your office being present, do you recall if anyone else was present during that postmortem examination?
I don't recall anyone else being present.
Is it typical for members of the police department to come in and view the autopsy?
Usually, yes. It depends upon the type of death and the case and so forth, but it's not unusual for police or investigators to attend the autopsy.
If someone from the Shelton Police Department were present, would that be noted in that report?
It may or may not. Some doctors don't always include the police who are present or not.
Prior to the post-mortem examination done on James Thomas McGrath arriving, prior to the examination being done on James McGrath, did you or any of your coworkers have any knowledge of what the extent of the injuries were?
Yes.
And where did you get that information from?
The death was called into our office from the hospital, and so we get preliminary information from the hospital.
And looking at State's Exhibit number 10, how old was James Thomas McGrath at his time of death?
He was 17 years of age.
And to your knowledge, do you know where James Thomas McGrath was pronounced dead?
I have to look at the death certificate or Bridgeport Hospital.
And to your knowledge, were any operations or procedures conducted on James McGrath prior to his arrival at the medical examiner's office?
Yes.
And how do you know this?
From the autopsy report.
And how was the body of James Thomas McGrath transported or brought to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner's office?
We have a transport team that will pick up remains at the hospital and bring them to our office.
Typically, and in this case as well, do you recall how the body was brought in? What condition?
The body was brought with resuscitative equipment still with the body in a body bag.
And was there an ME case number assigned to this examination?
Yes.
And referring to exhibit number 10, can you recall or can you tell the members of the jury what that ME case number is?
Yes. It's 22-10921.
And what is the significance of that ME case number?
So 22 is the year, and then we give each death that's reported to our office a unique sequential number. So it's a unique number for Mr. McGrath.
Can you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury generally what goes on in a post-mortem examination, if you could give details as to what is conducted?
It depends a little bit on the type of death, but generally in a case like this, we would do x-rays of the body, and then we would do what's called the external examination, where we look at the outside of the body, looking for identifying features, color of the eyes, length of hair, any evidence of injury or medical treatment. And we would take photographs, and then we would do the internal examination, where we make a Y-shaped incision and examine the internal organs to determine largely why the person died.
I'm going to direct your attention to States 10, where it says external examination. What is the purpose of that section?
So that, again, is to document the different physical characteristics of the body, color of the eyes, scars, tattoos, things like that.
And where it says under postmortem changes, what does that paragraph indicate? This is page 2 of 5.
So that's where we would describe any changes that we see from occurring after death, like rigor mortis, stiffening of the body temperature, lividity, the settling of the blood, change in color of the body after death.
And as indicated before, you said that there was some medical intervention that was done. In looking at States 10, can you please explain what was done or what was present on the body of James Thomas McGrath?
He was received with a breathing tube in his airway, as well as 2 catheters, intravenous type catheters actually in the bone on both lower legs.
And is that what is referred to as therapeutic interventions on States 10?
Correct.
Again, referring to States 10, under where it says injuries, external and internal, what evidence of injury was present on the body?
So there was evidence of both sharp injury and blunt injury. So sharp injuries are injuries that are caused by sharp objects like a knife, a piece of glass, and you can either have a stab injury or a cut injury. The difference is that stab wounds are deeper into the body than they are long on the skin, while a cut or an incised wound is longer on the skin than it is deep in the body. Blunt injuries are different types of injuries. Those are injuries caused by blunt force, where a person may fall down and bruise their knee or what have you. We call those contusions. So he had some bruises as well on different parts of his body that were just very superficial.
So in addition to those superficial bruising you had indicated, was there also a stab wound found on the body of James Thomas McGrath?
Yes.
And where was that stab wound located?
The stab wound was on the left chest below the left nipple.
Can you either read or explain the directions? Within the exhibit, it indicates the directions are stated with reference to the standard anatomical planes with the body measured in the horizontal position. What does that refer to?
So we don't know what position the person was in when they were stabbed. So we always give the directions in the anatomical position, which means standing straight up with your arms at your side. So we all have the same planes of reference. So for example, in this instance, the stab wound was going from the front of his body towards the back of his body, and it was going, from the left of his body towards the right of his body, and then slightly upward in his body.
Referring again to States 10, under injuries, external and internal, the last sentence of that paragraph indicates the injuries were labeled A through C for descriptive purposes only. What is the purpose of that? Explain to the jury.
So there were bruises and there was a stab wound. There's no way for us to tell the sequence, which came first, which came second.
Directing your attention to page 2 and to page 3 of State's Exhibit number 10, under where it says A, stab wound of torso, can you please read what that paragraph says out loud to the jury?
So a stab wound is centered 21 7/8 of an inch from the top of the head and 5 1/4 inches left of the anterior midline. It's oriented obliquely, which means kind of at an angle, with a sharp edge angled to the upper left and a blunt edge directed down and to the right. It is 1 1/16 of an inch long, slit-like perforation on the surface of the skin without natural skin tension. After penetrating the skin and the muscle, the knife proceeded through the left 6 to 7 intercostal space, that's between the ribs, and perforated the pericardial sac and the left ventricle of the heart. There was approximately 750 milliliters of clotted blood in the pericardial sac around the heart, and approximately 1.8 liters of liquid and clotted blood in the left pleural cavity, which is the left chest cavity. And then the direction of the penetration is front to back, left to right, and slightly upward. In the estimated depth, that's how deep the stab wound was, the estimated depth of this penetration is approximately 2.5 to 3.5 inches deep.
Now, in reference to States 10, that paragraph you just read, what does it mean? What is that intercostal space notation? What is that?
So that's a term for between the ribs. So it went in the muscle part between the two ribs.
And what would be there? Is it tissue? Is it?
It's muscular and soft tissue.
And again, you indicated the pericardial sac and left ventricle. What does that refer to?
So the pericardial sac is the sac that the heart is enclosed in, and the left ventricle is the left side of the heart, the pumping chamber of the heart that pumps the blood to the rest of the body. So it's going to pump out through the aorta to the rest of the body. And there was a stab wound. The stab wound went through the wall of that left ventricle of the heart.
That next paragraph, there's approximately 75 milliliters of clotted blood in the pericardial sac. Is that normal to have that? What caused that, if you can explain that?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any blood in the pericardial sac. So that was blood from that stab wound, from the blood first going into the pericardial sac and then continuing into the left chest cavity.
Or it indicates that the direction of the penetration is from front to back, left to right, and slightly upward. How are you able to tell that?
So we do a dissection during the autopsy where we kind of go in layer by layer and we follow the track, the path of the knife, and we can then see the direction that it followed.
I'm going to direct your attention back to States 10, where it says, again, page 3 of 5, under where it says B, blunt impact injuries of torso, where it indicates that there was a 3/4 greenish-brown contusion of the inframammary right chest. What does that indicate?
That means that there was a bruise on the right chest below the right nipple, and it seemed to have some age to it. It didn't look that fresh.
And how do you know about the age? How would we be able to tell the age?
Because of the green-brown color change.
And also, States 10 again, page 3 of 5, where it says C, blunt impact injury of extremities. It references some injuries there, indicating a brown contusion, green-brownish contusions, and red-purple contusions. What does that indicate, that paragraph?
So there are scattered bruises. Some of them, they're of different ages. Some of them are more recent, and some appear older.
What is the purpose of documenting such injuries?
It's just part of a routine part of an autopsy to document all the injuries. You never know when a particular injury may be important for an investigation.
So you had indicated earlier that in addition to an external examination, there was also an internal examination done on the body of James Thomas McGrath. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And what parts of the body were subject to that internal examination?
All of the internal organs of the chest and the abdomen, as well as the head. So the brain, the heart, the lungs, liver, kidneys, all of those were examined.
And what is the purpose of doing an internal examination to all of those various parts of the body if it's don't want to say pretty obvious, but if it looks to you where that injury might be, why do everything else?
It's just being thorough and looking for other maybe natural disease that could have contributed to death. We also want to collect various tissue samples for further testing. And so it's again, part of a kind of a routine autopsy to do that examination.
Directing your attention again to stage 10, page 305, where it says cardiovascular system. What does that paragraph mean in layman's terms?
So that's describing the heart, the valves, the blood vessels, and he had other than the stab wound, he had a normal heart. He was a normal, healthy person.
So would it be safe to say that in that section, there would not be any indication regarding the injuries done to the heart?
Correct. We include the injuries in a separate section, so the internal exam is really just the kind of the natural, normal descriptions.
May I approach counsel, Your Honor?
Yes, thank you.
Let's mark this photographs for identification purposes. Your Honor, let's see them.
I'll just take a quick glance. Thank you. Thank you.
Approaching the witness. Dr. Gill, showing you what's been marked as exhibits 11 through 20 for ID purposes only at this point. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes.
And what do you recognize these photographs to be?
These are the autopsy photographs from Mr. McGrath.
Do the photographs that you see here fairly and accurately depict the body that came into your office on the day that the postmortem examination was done?
Yes.
And in the photographs that were depicted, does anything look different to you than the body of James McGrath did on the day of the autopsy?
No.
And again, the purpose of taking these photographs?
To document the findings, who he is, and any injuries.
Do you recall who took these photographs?
We have professional photographers who do that under our direction.
I'd like to enter these as full exhibit, Your Honor.
Attorney Smith?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, court will accept into evidence states exhibits 11 through 20 as full.
Gill, for the next several questions, I'm going to be showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 11 through 20 as full exhibits. Can you see that, Dr. Gill, where you are? There's
Yes.
something else in front of you. Dr. Gill, what does this photograph depict?
This is a full-body photograph of Mr. McGrath showing how we received him at the medical examiner's office.
And that placard that's placed above the body, what does that number refer to?
That's his unique case number.
And from looking at States, I believe this is States 11, do you see anything in this photograph that would depict any kind of, as you indicated earlier, the therapeutic services that was done on Mr. McGrath at the hospital?
Yes.
Can you just identify those areas to the members of the jury?
You can see the breathing tube coming out of his mouth. In his lower legs, there are these two are called intraosseous catheters in both legs, and then there's some gauze pad over the left chest.
I'm referring to States 11, the lower left-hand area of the exhibit. There is a tag which is on the body of James McGrath's toe. What does that tag indicate?
That's how it's an identification toe tag.
Showing you what's been marked as States 12. Dr. Gill, what is this a photograph of?
This is a face shot of Mr. McGrath.
I just have one moment, Your Honor.
Certainly.
And that placard that again is depicted there, is that the same number that we saw in States 11? The number matches up, the ME number?
Correct.
Showing you States 13. What is this a photograph of?
So this is the face and upper torso of Mr. McGrath, and it shows the stab wound under that left nipple. You can see that red line is the stab wound.
And let the record reflect, Your Honor, that the witness is pointing to the right-hand side of States 13, where he's indicating there is a red line below the left nipple of the body.
So noted. Thank you.
And Dr. Gill, if you can look at States 13, there is some reddish purplish bruising, it appears, around the neck area of the body of James Thomas McGrath. What is that?
That's called livor mortis. That's a change that occurs after death from blood settling in those areas.
Showing you what's been marked at State 14. What is this a photograph of?
This is a close-up photograph of the stab wound.
And again, that's the placard, the ME placard number that matches up.
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as State 15. What is this a photograph of?
So this is also a photograph of the stab wound showing the skin, which is less relaxed. So the skin has a natural elasticity to it, and depending upon how the sharp injury is in the skin, sometimes it can cause the wound to gape open. In that first picture, we saw that gaping wound. This is kind of pushing the skin back together, relieving that natural skin tension, so you can get a better look at the actual stab wound.
Showing you States 16. Dr. Gill, what is that a photograph of?
So this is after the skin of the chest has been reflected to the side, and we're looking at the chest wall, and just above the label there's some bleeding there. That's where the knife went through that intercostal space.
Showing you State 17. Is this a close-up photograph of State 16?
Correct.
And can you also see in that photograph the puncture wound?
Yeah, there looks like there's some disrupted muscle there. It's difficult to make out.
Now, this placard that is utilized here, it looks like there's some measuring tool in there as well. Do you utilize that to measure the puncture wound or the injury?
Yes, that's always kind of on our label. Yeah.
Showing you States 18. What is that a photograph of?
This is showing the heart while it's still in the body, and that kind of oval red lesion. That's the stab wound of the heart, of the left ventricle of the heart.
So is that the heart taken out of that muscle or tissue that we saw in stage 17?
So the pericardial sac has been opened, and we're looking at the heart inside the sac now.
Showing you stage 19. What is that a photograph of?
This is showing the pericardial sac before it's been opened up. So you can see a little bit of lung, pink lung at the top there, and then that hole kind of right in the center. That's where the knife went through the pericardial sac.
And lastly, showing you stage 20. Again, what is that a photograph of?
So this is a photograph of just the heart, and you can see kind of below the yellow, the fatty tissue, there's this darker red area. That's the actual stab wound that went into the left ventricle of the heart.
What is the purpose of taking this photograph with the heart removed from the body?
Just to further document the injury.
May I just have one moment, Your Honor? Dr. Gill, based on your training and experience in the field of forensic pathology, with respect to the stab wound to the torso, perforating the heart, what effect would you expect such an injury to have on a person's ability to survive?
Well, it would not be immediately incapacitating. The person would still remain conscious for a period of time until they've lost enough blood and the heart can no longer maintain the blood pressure. Then they would lose consciousness. And again, if the heart and the circulation isn't restarted, they would die.
Were any samples or specimens collected during the post-mortem examination and submitted for laboratory analysis?
Yes.
And do you recall what specimens were collected?
There were several specimens collected for toxicology, including blood, vitreous fluid from the eye. We usually collect liver as well, and urine.
And what tests were conducted on the blood of the body that was collected?
So we did our kind of routine toxicology testing, which includes alcohol and all the common drugs of misuse, as well as other medications and so forth.
I'm going to direct your attention back to States 10 on page 5 of the toxicology report, withdrawn. Page 5, what does it read under the heading toxicology?
So it gives the positive findings that were detected in the blood and the vitreous fluid from the eye.
Okay. Directing your attention to page 2 out of 3 of the toxicology report. Do you recall or can you read what the blood alcohol content or BAC of the body of said James Thomas McGrath was?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was 0.2 gram percent or gram per 100 milliliters.
Referring again to States 10, to the very first page of that exhibit where it says final diagnosis. Please read what it says.
Stab wound of torso with perforation of heart, hemothorax, approximately 1.8 liters. That's blood in the chest cavity. And then hemopericardium, that's blood in the pericardial sac, approximately 75 milliliters. And then superficial blunt impact injuries of the trunk and the extremities, the bruises.
Based upon your review of the postmortem examination of James Thomas McGrath, what was the cause of death in this case, Dr. Gill?
The stab wound of the torso.
And what was the manner of death?
Homicide.
And if you could please explain your reasoning to the jury as to why it was a homicide.
Homicide for a medical examiner is death at the hand of another person. So this stab wound was caused by another person, so it's a homicide.
I just have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
I have no further questions for Dr. Gill.
Thank you. Attorney Smith?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Gill.
Good afternoon.
You told us that you have been at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner since July of 2013.
Correct.
Did you take over from Dr. Carver?
Yes.
And you've been there since for the past 12 years?
Yes.
Any break in that time period? You've served continuously?
Correct.
All right. And you've told us that in conducting your autopsy, you discovered a 1 1/16 inch long slit-like perforation in the chest, correct?
Yes.
And you've described that both in your testimony and in the report as being the result of a knife, correct?
Yes.
And was that based on information that you had from other people involved with this investigation?
I think it's probably a combination. The features, the anatomical features, are what we see with a knife injury, and I believe we had history that he had been stabbed.
And so did you come to that conclusion that it was a knife based on your own observations or based on something you had been told?
Again, I think it was a combination. The features are kind of classic findings for a knife. I really couldn't think of much else that would cause it.
No other sort of sharp object like a piece of glass or something of that nature?
A piece of glass wouldn't cause such a straight injury with a single blunt angle and a sharpened angle, and to that depth, I think it'd be very unlikely that a piece of glass would do that.
Any other tool, perhaps, a screwdriver or something like that?
A screwdriver gives a different type of pattern, a more circular puncture type injury.
Fair to say you didn't have anything definitive at that point that led you to know that this was a knife, but that's what you concluded based on what you've described here to us?
Yeah, the anatomic findings are supportive, very supportive of a knife. Yeah.
And you also had information, I guess, from the police officers that were involved, or where did the mention of a knife come from?
Probably from the hospital that he presented with a stab wound.
And you described that this stab wound went through the left 6 to 7 intercostal space, correct?
Yes.
And you described that as being the space between the ribs?
Correct.
And as you went through and gave us a list of your findings, you described also an injury under Section B, which was an old bruise. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And then under Section C, a number of other scattered bruises of indeterminate age. Is that also fair to say?
Correct.
Now, as part of your report, you said that the wound itself was an estimated 2.5 to 3.5 inches deep, correct?
Yes.
Why is that an estimated number?
Because the heart and the body can move. And so if a person's leaning forward or laying back, there can be some movement of the heart. And so we can't give an exact, precise depth. Plus, if it goes into the heart cavity, we don't know how deeply it went into the cavity. It didn't go through the heart, through the whole heart, but it went through the wall. So we give an estimate. That's typical.
So based on a position, the person's body position when the wound is suffered, fair to say the stab wound could have been 2.5 inches deep, could have been 3.5 inches deep.
It's within that range, correct?
You didn't note any other fractures, correct?
Correct.
You didn't note any other puncture wounds, correct?
Correct.
So this single stab wound that you've described to us, in your opinion, was both the only wound and the wound that led to his death?
It was the only fatal injury, yes.
Other than what you've described as being old, unrelated bruises of indeterminate nature, is that fair to say?
The bruising, yeah, that played no role in his death.
You also told us that you had ordered what was your standard specimen testing for toxicology reports, correct?
Yes.
And that included a toxicology for alcohol, correct?
Correct.
And did you tell us that the blood alcohol of the deceased was a 0.2?
Correct.
Did that have any bearing on your findings in this case?
It played no physiologic role in his death. He would have died from this stab injury whether or not he had alcohol in his system.
And Dr. Gill, you've been called here today to tell us what you witnessed and observed as it relates to this autopsy, correct?
Yes.
And you've done that to the best of your ability?
Yes.
But if this jury is interested in knowing why Mr. Valle did what he did that night, you can't tell us anything that would help them, can you?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Attorney Messina?
Just a couple questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Dr. Gill, you had indicated on direct examination that you and your team determined that the fatal injury caused the body of James McGrath was a stab wound, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I know you had indicated earlier, but approximately how many post-mortem examinations have you conducted or overseen where the cause was a stab wound in your
Objection,
career?
Your Honor. I believe this is outside the scope of my cross-examination.
Okay, so you did question the witness regarding other causes, so I'll allow it. Overruled.
Many dozens, but some of those involve, for example, in one person, maybe 80 stab wounds. So yeah, I've seen hundreds and probably thousands of stab wounds.
In those cases where you've determined it to be a knife, have those injuries been very similarly situated to what you saw on the body of James McGrath?
Yes.
And you had indicated on cross-examination regarding the difference between a knife perforation versus, let's say, a glass perforation. What would be the difference there?
A glass, because it's more irregular shaped, you get an irregular pattern and maybe more jagged. Usually it's not going to have that depth. This was a very smooth-edged, straight-edged, straight-in wound, so that was caused by something that's sharp, long, narrow, and that's a knife.
You had testified on cross-examination that you were able to determine the positioning or how that knife went into the body of James McGrath. Would you be able to determine the position of James McGrath at the time the stabbing took place, based on the injuries?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional cross?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, you may step down. Thank you. Please watch your step as you exit out. If you don't mind, I'll take that exhibit. Thank you so much.